Hello, and welcome to the next in our series, The Dovekeepers by Alice Hoffman. Today, I'm going to introduce you to the first of the Dovekeepers, Yael. And she is a young woman who flees Jerusalem with her father. She was born on the night that her mother died. And so her father has always ignored her because she reminds him too much of the death of her mother. And she has grown up feeling ignored, unseen, unloved, and responsible for the death of her mother. Her father is part of the Zakari, who are a group of assassins fighting against Roman rule. Her brother is also part of this assassin group. And as they flee Jerusalem when the temple is being destroyed, they are joined by other Zakari. As they travel through the desert, Yael falls in love with one of the assassins that they are traveling with, but he is married and has 2 children. As they travel through the desert, Yael finds that having somebody who sees her, who recognizes her strengths and her beauty, gives her a whole new purpose in life. And for the first time, she finds her own voice. But she realizes that traveling through the desert will either kill you or it will awaken the lion within you. As they travel along, their conditions get worse and worse, and finally most of the people in the group die. And ultimately it is only Yael and her father who make it to Masada. Yael arrives in Masada a couple of months after having left Jerusalem, a completely changed person. She has found her inner voice. She has been seen for the first time, and she is now pregnant. At Masada, she is called on to be one of the Dovekeepers. Masada and the land around it is not particularly fertile, but the Romans and the Jews before them who occupied this land discovered that if you use the droppings of doves, the land becomes very fertile. And so there are a group of 4 women who are dovekeepers. They are women who have to clean the droppings of the doves and feed the doves and collect their eggs so that the rest of the community in Masada might live. Yael is surprised by how prosperous this community is, how much food and water they have after the months of the desert and almost living at starvation level for weeks on end. To her, this seems like paradise. But what we take away from Yael's story is how we are seen by other people and the effects that it has on us. Yael lives in a way where she feels that she has never been seen. She feels as though she isn't a real person because she's constantly hiding herself, because her story is that she is an assassin. She killed her mother. And the irony in this is that it was no fault of her own that her mother died giving her birth. And yet the society shunned her. Yet her father, who is an assassin and who has killed countless people, is held up as a hero within his community. So how we are seen by others shapes how we see ourselves. And this, of course, is the extraordinary story of our faith. We have a God who sees us for who we truly are, a God who knows us so intimately, a God who was there when our bones were knitted in our mother's womb, as the psalmist says. And so our invitation from this story is to spend time in the presence of the divine. Spend time learning to see yourself as God sees you. Learning to see how you are loved by God. Spending time in the truth of who you are by being in God's presence, and not by hearing the multiple voices of people around you. because what Alice Hoffman is showing us in this story is how wrong and cruel people can be. The assassin, the person who kills for a living, is held up as a hero, and the innocent girl, whose only, inverted commas, crime is that her mother died giving birth to her, is seen as a killer. How many other of these mistakes do we make in society? In South Africa, it makes us think of apartheid and the way we classified people and misunderstood each other because of these bizarre, hurtful, harmful classifications that we've made. So the invitation, as I say, is to sit in the presence of God and find your identity and find your truth mirrored in the divine, and not always only by the way other people see you, because this can often be a very false perception. Of course, that's not to say that that's always the case. Very often when we hear what other people think of us, it can be enormously healing. But what Hoffman is showing us in this story is that we as society often make categories, classifications of people that they must then carry with them for their whole lives, which are deeply hurtful and destructive. And it is only in God's presence that this can be healed and that we can find our true identities. So as you meditate on this and think with these ideas, I pray that God brings you blessing and healing. Amen.